hello, and welcome to our very latest episode of Her, Him, and a Dev. And yeah, I know you're not Dev, but this is the show. This is what we do. Okay, I am C Buddy, and I am joined
Oh,
by the
I'm just
always
excited
lovely.
because it said you have the hottest guests, so I'm feeling very hot. It's really
Yes,
good.
you
I
are.
mean, you should feel hot.
So sorry, no,
Absolutely.
keep going. Yeah, it's the hottest guests. I'm just the next in a long string of super hot guests.
Yeah, I mean, we just keep upping the ante. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So
That's right.
it's that's the levels that we're at here. So I'm joined by the always lovely Doodle.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so very much for rocking out with us. Happy Tuesday. We have the hottest guest.
We do have the hottest guest. Happy Tuesday indeed. We are joined by we in the Xbox community love to consider him being the father of Xbox.
Yes.
Okay. We have the absolute privilege and honor to be joined by the boring old man himself.
The father of Xbox. If it moves back in, it's paying rent. That's all I have to say. It's fucking paying rent.
That's hilarious. I want you to talk about what you think about that as well. That's gonna be a question. But we're joined by Seamus Blackley, man. Thank you so much for coming here, man. We appreciate you.
Hey, dude.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I feel like now
I'm so
we're an
honored.
official Xbox channel.
Right?
You don't say that shit to guests because all it does is it makes the guest feel old as fuck. Like, oh yeah, dude, you're a legend. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, like,
Listen,
yeah, cool, that's cool, yeah.
how many times do you get to talk to a legend though? You got to let the legend know that they're a legend, at least to you, right?
I think that here's an awesome litmus test. If there's somebody who feels comfortable being called a legend,
yes,
they have a mental illness. It's not somebody you want
Well,
to know.
I would say this.
Who the hell, like everyone in their mind is a 12-year-old, right? Idiot. Like,
yes.
You're just like, oh, I'm an idiot. You're like, oh, something good happened. I must have been really lucky. Must have been somebody else. That's how everything feels. Sorry, you didn't even get to introduce yourselves. That's
okay.
what an asshole I am. So I'll shut up.
Listen, you fit right in. You fit right in. It's perfect.
We're a couple assholes too.
Literally, ask around. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way it works, man. So, but thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for being
excited
here.
about this.
You look great. You are full of energy and so youthful. I love the tattoos. So we're so happy. We're so happy to have you here. What do you have there on your arm, if you don't mind sharing?
It's some ancient Egyptian prayers and things I like.
Oh, that's
to help me through life. Yes, yeah. This one is a prayer to a goddess called Nut, who is the goddess of the sky, and I could tell you more about it, but then I would never shut up. So it's a prayer to Nut.
Let's save it for the end. We'll get you in there. But thank you, man. That's really, really dope. All right, let me get this going because we do have where's my clicker? Yes. Okay. So obviously, guys, thank you so much for being here, for rocking with us. We appreciate each and every one of you for being here with us live, talking to the non-legend Seamus Blackley.
There you go. The old man. Seamus Blackley.
But we do also have to shout out our YouTube elite members, the homie Big Boy Mike, Dark Angelic, Spoonman, and Dragons Blade 79. We appreciate you guys being on that tier. Thank you guys. But again, obviously, everybody here right now is supporting us greatly for rocking with us. So we appreciate each and every one.
As they should. As they should.
Yes, that's dope. Thank you, man. Let's get going, man. Let's not waste any time. Okay, so I'm sure. Listen, I get it. Okay. You've been probably asked so much of this shit like a million times, right? But this is the thing, okay? We didn't ask it yet, so we need to have it here.
You've done me lately. That's the thing that you need to ask. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
So we have to ask so that the people who watch us know the answers. We can't assume that they've seen your other things. You know what I'm saying? We gotta assume that they're here. This is the first time. First thing, okay. What inspired you to get into video games in general? Like, what made you want to get into the industry, or did you just kind of stumble into the industry? And how do you feel that journey led you to Xbox?
Well, look, I'm really fucking old, and the thing you got to realize is that back when I was a kid, there wasn't a video game industry. If you wanted to play video games, you needed to like cause a video game to happen, right? And you could, go to the arcade. Although, I was alive really before there were video arcades. I remember playing Computer Space, which is like the first video game, commercial video game. And if you were amazed by that, then you had to figure out how to make that happen. And it wasn't like there was an internet. It wasn't like you could go and, download a game. You had to like figure out how the hell to do it, how to manipulate the adults around you into letting you get access to a computer and then make it do stuff. And that's what it was. And you get this attitude as a result of that you are just going to have to bend the world to your will if you want to play games. And it was really clear to me that the best and only legitimate use for a computer was to play games. I mean, obviously.
Facts.
And all the other shit that they do, like, accounting or whatever, or, controlling airplanes, like that's fine.
Or like
that's
this,
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's not what this is. The computer that is having to display this video is so fucking pissed at you right now. It's like, why are we not playing the game? Why am I playing back this bit stream? This is so fucking.
There's a 4090 right there. He's just waiting for us.
The computer is pissed off at you right now for not playing a game. You should just turn this off and play a game. Everybody should be happy. But that's how it started, man. And then you get it in your head that you can do that. And and the reality is that if you don't like the platforms and options available to you for playing games, go make a damn platform. I mean, what's stopping you?
Oh, I love that.
I like that. I like that. That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope.
It's easy to complain, but after a few months of complaining, you could have done something, right? You could have made something.
Agreed.
And then you'd feel a lot better. You'd be distracted. You'd have a hobby, and maybe you would even make some money.
Absolutely.
Although
I love that.
Nice.
Go-getter attitude, right?
Lose a ridiculous amount of money for many years, but yes, you could potentially.
Yes, but then eventually, hopefully, one day.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Let me ask you that, because going in, obviously, this was a new thing, and you had to know that it was going to lose a lot of money to start it, right? Like, how was that going out to them and be like, listen, we're going to eat shit for a long time, but hopefully at some point we're going to turn this around and make this console worth it.
Anybody who's been in business for a while knows this, and you've probably heard, if you're going to make money, you got to spend money, right?
Yes.
And everyone understands this. It's a little bit of a weird bubble right now. I mean, all this AI shit and everything, it makes it seem as if like you can just magically like appear money and value, like blockchain and all that. But, we're also shown time and time again that if it looks too good to be true, it's definitely too good to be true. And it's no different here. So you need to expend resources in order to like get somewhere, right? So everybody knew that the score with that at Microsoft, but it was, as a new guy there and a sort of new Microsoft employee at the time, a really young guy, I'd be in these meetings. Like I remember a Microsoft-wide P&L meeting with all of the heads of the business divisions, and like Bill Gates and Ballmer. And I mean, there are a couple of things I remember. One of them was that Bill Gates had burgers from Burgermeister delivered to him when everybody else was hungry, and I would have killed the man to get his burger at the time. But
wait, he would just get the burgers to eat right there, and everybody else just like.
Listen, that's not like, Bill's not a dick, but I think probably what happens, especially the guys in that position, is like, they're going to give him. He's going to have Burgermeister. He asks it for lunch, and then everybody else's lunch is delayed, but his is delivered anyway. And then he looks like an asshole, but it's not really his fault. It's just the system around him. But let me tell you, at the time, I was ready to kill anybody to get that goddamn burger. But the bummer of the day was that I was sitting next to this guy, John Devon. He's a really cool guy. He, at that time, ran Microsoft Office. And at that time, Microsoft Office was the most profitable business in the history of the human race, with no exaggeration. Wow. Okay. And like, it was like, I think he went, and then I had to go and talk about the $5 billion we were going to lose before having any chance of even making $1 in profit. So that was that was uncomfortable. That was
So
uncomfortable.
you were new. So you were like new at Microsoft when you decided to pitch this. Like, how long were you at Microsoft before you said, you know what, fuck it,
Oh,
let's go
I
make this console?
Just go all in.
straight up failure. I met Bill Gates because he was an investor in DreamWorks, and I had this failed game called Trespasser at DreamWorks with Steven Spielberg, yeah, when that failed, I remembered Bill had been really impressed by the demo for Trespasser that we showed him. And he said, "You should come work for Microsoft." And so I had his email address. So I emailed the guy, and he forwarded it to somebody in HR. Then I went and had interviews and got a job. I mean,
Wow.
it was remarkable in some ways, but also completely stupid in many other ways, right? I mean, that's a completely stupid story. That's like,
Well,
It's
good
a
story. That's a
beautiful
awesome
story. Yes.
that it's also a little
Listen.
bit like, you're like wandering around looking for the men's room, and you open a door and there's a meeting, and you just wander in, and now you're suddenly on like the UN Security Council because you walked in the wrong door. Like that's kind of like
Yeah.
what it was like.
I need
This
to
is one
go
of those
open
meant
those
to be
doors. You know what I'm saying?
moments,
Like,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah, well, no,
right.
it's
Like,
more about being
that is.
able to bullshit your way through things well enough they let you stay in the room. That's really the key.
Facts. So all right. So
You have to be a good bullshitter, though.
Well,
listen,
no, but the trick is to be able to hold your own and like have confidence in that way without actually
Yes.
being full of shit, with actually delivering stuff and actually
facts.
doing
Yes.
what you say you're going to do. And a lot of people don't get that. I mean, they go fake it till you make it, and that's true, but it doesn't mean like lie and be full of shit and tell people what they
Yeah,
need
you have
to
to be
hear.
capable of
Yes.
making it.
You have to be
What
You
capable
just gotta
of
yeah,
feel
having
like
put
you've
in
done
the
it
work.
already.
That's right. Fake it till you make it means fake that you have confidence in yourself when you don't, because everyone feels like a fucking
Yes.
12-year-old inside, right? We talked about this
Yes.
before already once,
Absolutely.
and we'll come up again. Fake that confidence, but
Yes.
don't be full of shit. Like, do what you say. Like,
Yes.
have a good
Exactly.
idea, have good plans, but have the confidence to believe in yourself and carry them through. Don't mistake the meaning of that trope, man. So that was the trick, was hanging in that room by actually being valuable and actually producing something and actually having ideas that were exciting, and then going off and actually getting them done. And you'll be surprised at the number of people, especially in big corporations, who talk a big game and want to sound cool in meetings and say what they think everybody's going to hear, and then they don't do any work. But it's okay, because like they're not going to get fired for that. They're not going to get excused in the meeting. And so you have these endless meetings about stuff that never happens. But if you're somebody who actually does what they say they're going to do, you're gonna be different than what everybody expects. Okay. The corollary to that, of course, is that all those people who are not doing anything are going to fucking hate you and want to shut you down. So you got to learn some politics also.
Ain't that funny? See, what you said just rings so true in our lives. What a great statement. I want to clip that
Beautiful.
moment right there.
Yes.
Because there's putting in work, and then there's being upset that you're not where you want to be, yet you're not putting in the same work as the other people who are
Right.
where you want to be, right? So it's good. I'm gonna clip
Yes.
that right there. That was beautiful. Okay, and another thing, Doodle, you're gonna ask a question, but these are just popping up right now.
Go ahead.
So I just want to know, like, talk about fake it till you make it. You went from making a failed game to making the most amazing console ever known in history of mankind. Like, how the fuck did that happen? Like, what? Like, how do you have the confidence? You couldn't even make the game, and then you came and you make the console for the games. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? That's beautiful.
Well, nothing focuses you more than failure, right? I mean, that's the key. If you actually pay attention, you learn from it. And that's the scariest thing. People talk about how it's really hard to start a company, and it's probably hard for you guys to start this podcast, but it's not hard in the way that you think. It's like, oh, it's a lot of work, or I had to do a lot of math or something. It's hard in an intensely emotional, psychological way where you're facing your insecurities. You're having to look at yourself and actually be honest with yourself about what you're good at and what you're bad at, and actually communicate that to other people. And I found that for most people, including for me, it's almost impossible to do that. But if you can't do that, you can't get anywhere. And that's why it's hard. It's hard in a way where like you feel like you're drowning at 3:00 in the morning, and like and it fucks with your self-worth and everything that you think about the world, and like everything seems upside down, and you don't understand how any of it's going to work and how you'll ever be successful in any way. And then when it happens, you're so surprised because it's been so hard that, people tell you, oh my God, you're a genius, or you're so lucky, and you're like, what? What? No, 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 no. I almost killed myself. What are you talking about? And that's why I think, like, I'm so resistant to, being called into these things. Oh, you're a legend. And why everybody, I mean, like, you listen to people being interviewed after the Oscars or whatever, all the genuine people who actually have worked really hard to do something good, you're like, oh my God, this almost destroyed me. Like, how am I getting a prize for this? Like, I fucked everything up and yet it still worked. How could anybody not see what a disaster that was? And they're amazed by it. And those are the real people. And the real artists always respond that way. And and like I said before, if you find somebody who agrees with you that they're a legend or agrees with you that they're awesome, like, don't trust them with your money.
Well, that's pretty much like just celebrities in general, right? Like the ones that they get up there, this is what they look for, right? They want to be called that stuff. That's why they're living their whole life
I
trying
don't know
to
that that's
But when
true.
you keep
So I spent a long time. I've known a very large number of really famous people, and it's been weird. But almost all of them who I know, who I really love, have they have to learn that nobody wants you to be humble. Nobody wants to hear what you really think. They need you to be the person they want you to be. And you figure out that if you're not that person to them, if you can't become that person and thank them and be the legend or whatever they need you to be, that it's offending them. You're bumming them out. You're wrecking something that's important in their lives. They're like, oh my God, I met Gwyneth Paltrow. And if Gwyneth Paltrow is having a bad day and is like, oh, come on, I'm just a person, I poo in the morning just like you. They're wrecking that person's day and changing something that could be one of the great experiences of their lives into something weird. And so they figure out that they need to deliver on that. And then the reward they get for that, because the universe is a bitch, right? The reward they get for that is everybody says, oh, they're just like fame sucking. And it's like, oh, no, like, what do you do in those situations? I don't want to like tell everybody they're wrong, but I also don't want to wreck everybody's day and, make everything super weird for people, because life is hard. And like, you have to understand that, like with Xbox, everyone who's worked on Xbox has had people come up to them and thank them and say, oh, it changed my life. And what are you going to say at that point? Oh, it was nothing? No, you don't want to say it's nothing. Changing your life isn't nothing. Bringing you joy when you were a kid, like having a place where you could go to escape your abusive father where it was safe for you, that's not nothing.
Facts.
Right? You better say something good to that person. You better tell that person, like, yes, thank you. It was an honor to work on that. I'm so glad it helped you. Right? Yes. That's what you got to find in yourself when these things come up. And so a lot of celebrities who are able to find that in themselves, take a lot of heat for it as being fake or something on the other end, but it's not, man. There's a thought process in there, and it's not easy. And I know just a little tiny bit of it. Those guys, like, they live it all the time. They can't go outside.
Facts.
That's
Facts.
true.
Well, listen, for us here, we wouldn't be here if you didn't do what you did, because it's really Xbox. Like, I didn't care about consoles like that, like there was just something about the Xbox that just came out of nowhere, and it was amazing, and it did everything I wanted it to do.
It's obvious and inherent superiority, for one.
Facts. we just like being winners, okay? Just like being the best. That's all. The best box. It's a beautiful box.
It's really good to hear that, and like, it's fucking awesome to be a part of that. It's weird.
Absolutely.
Flat out weird, but it's awesome to be a part of that.
Well, that's to show you how focused you were. You kept your head down, working hard, having a vision, and for it to come true, you weren't expecting it because you weren't waiting for the reward. You were just doing what you wanted to do and you needed to do to make it come true, right?
And the work is what made it happen. Like, you put in the work, right? So even if you don't understand how it happened because you did all the things that you did, and whether they were failures, success, doesn't matter, because it led to the same place, which is what we're celebrating, is the idea of what you've done and who you are. So thank you, man.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Well,
baby girl, go ahead, read it.
It's a system. A game console is a system between the people who make the console, the guys who make the games, and the people who play the games and pay for it all, right? I mean, the fans are the ones who are paying for it all and making it all possible. So, it's like the fans are the ones who are making it possible for you to have a lifestyle developing games for a living. I mean, think about that. What do you do for a living? I make games, and it's not, it's not idyllic. It's a pain in the ass. It's super duper hard. It causes you to question your sanity on a daily basis. But wow, you're able to make games, and you're able to make games because people are willing to spend the money that they earn in their shitty jobs, like to play games, to as the escape. And so, if you understand properly what's going on, it's an incredible amount of pressure to deliver for those people, right? I used to have this argument all the time when we were launching Xbox about pricing, which is that, it's our job to eat a bunch of profit, to like not make money, to lose money shipping these consoles out, because we're asking a guy who's like working extra shifts at UPS, or a woman who's like, kissing the asses of customers she really doesn't like in order to get extra tips, so that they can shell out $400 or $500 for this console, which is like the biggest purchase they're going to make all year long or for 2 years, right? We better fucking make it great. We better make it possible for that person to do it and bring something special to their lives. And if we do that, then that person across their life is going to buy a lot of games and is going to enable this to keep going, right? And so there's a real sense when you really think about it, if you look at it with a long view and you look at it like an adult, there's a sense that you are carrying water for a moment in the game industry. If you do a good enough job, you're going to continue this process that enables us to work on games for a living. And part of the reason that I got so angry at executives and other people who abuse this, people who abuse developers, people who abuse consumers, people who do bullshit pricing schemes, the stuff that happened at Unity, for instance, some of the decisions that are made on the consoles. The reason I'm mad at it is that it's people abdicating that responsibility to continue this beautiful thing, which creates an opportunity for creative people to want to make games, and for the audience who wants to experience new stuff in interactive, entertainment, to get it. And if you try to screw somebody over to make a quick buck, you're betraying the entire ecosystem every time. And that's why people get so mad, even if they can articulate why it is that they get so mad. It's because everyone, I think, inherently, who's been a gamer or been in the gaming industry long enough, understands that this is a delicate balance of things, of forces that have to be maintained in order to create the stream of content that we all want. And if you do something stupid like the Unity guys did, you're going to screw up that balance. And the converse, like, you see guys like Tim at Unity, who's full disclosure, is a good friend of mine, but Tim fighting Apple and Tim fighting Android and making sure that.
Oh, you mean at Epic?
Yeah. What did I say?
Yeah,
Unity,
you said Unity.
No, Tim at Epic. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Tim Sweeney. So fighting Apple, fighting to make sure that we can maintain an ecosystem that actually works. Is really important work to do. And it may not be obvious at first, but man, it's the thing that keeps the stream of games coming, and it's the thing that keeps the stream of interesting games coming. Because if you don't make the economics work out, you're going to get into a situation where everything has to be a sequel or a copy of what came before, because nobody's willing to take a risk on anything new. And fuck, I don't want to live in a world without any new game ideas in it. I'm going to stop ranting. Jesus Christ, get off my lawn, you kids.
I love
awesome.
hearing this from
awesome.
you. Absolutely love it, because I say it all the time. Xbox, it's like they do right by the consumer, and you feel that. It's so important, right? To feel like your money's not just being taken for the sake of it, right? Of them making a quick buck. So I appreciate hearing this from you.
Well, but and doing that, I mean, Phil has a lot of balls, and it takes a lot to, to stand up to the pressure of a corporation, and especially Microsoft right now, who is all in on AI, independent of what you think of AI as a business. Games is this little thing, and he just spent a bunch of money on Activision, and he's under a lot of heat, and so continuing to make decisions that may not seem to be, or from a PR standpoint, don't seem to necessarily be in the interest of Microsoft shareholders is very difficult. It's a very difficult position for him to be in. And having all these gamers crawl up his ass about these things as if he just had total fiat with infinite money to make whatever decision that he wanted is insane, and it's beside the point. Like sometimes things go in your direction, sometimes they don't. It's a ridiculously difficult job, and I always want to say when I see these guys just excoriating Phil or the PlayStation guys or even the Nintendo guys, it's like, okay, where's your console? Oh,
Facts.
Yes. Thank you.
Cool. Well,
Yes.
when you start a big game platform, come back to me and then you can tell me how easy it is. But until then, shut the fuck up.
Yes. Get him. Oh, live on our show. This is beautiful.
My God.
How'd you know?
Thank
How'd you know?
you.
You be watching our show?
I know. I feel like he should be podcasting with us.
Look. That
Get you a
said,
spot.
I don't agree with everything that Phil does, obviously, and nor would anybody agree with everything that I did for sure or do. But in general, that job is so goddamn hard, and the amount of money you're responsible for is so much. The number of things to keep track of, and it's so easy to throw stones in, right?
It's very quickly to go into fire film mode, right? It's ridiculous.
Or people down on Sarah Bond. Like Sarah is fucking brilliant and amazing, and and as a woman has like got into a position in games that's very difficult to get into. And like, fuck you, I'll defend her to the death. It's just like, and all of those people. Also like Shu at Sony, like the guys at Nintendo. Like every single one of those people makes decisions every day that's not in the interest of their careers, but in the interest of making better games. And we should respect that more than we do. It's not to say that we shouldn't hold them to account or complain about it, and that's fine, but also respect them. I mean, come on, these are hard jobs. Like Yoshida-san at Sony, Shu has made decisions that have risked his career again and again and again to save studios. You look at No Man's Sky, which is now a really good game. It was a disaster when it came out. He kept supporting it, right? On pain of his job. And you know what? Jonathan turned it around, and it's a really great game now. It's really fun if you haven't played it. And those are the things that make the difference between the game industry being a vibrant place that has a lot of new ideas in it where people take creative risks, and a place that goes on fucking lockdown and everything is Fortnite forever. And by the way, you'd never have had Fortnite if people didn't take risks on new stuff. So this is critical.
Facts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ooh, that was good.
I love it.
All right. Doodle, ask.
Yes. Can you share the story behind the initial concept of the Xbox and what challenges you faced in bringing it to life?
Wow. So it's hard to answer that in a way that I feel like I haven't said 100,000 times before. But basically,
it's okay. Just assume that they don't know. You don't know. Just listen.
All right. So the initial idea behind Xbox was that I was really fucking bored. I got the job at Microsoft. I think I was the program manager of graphics or entertainment graphics for Windows or something. And I saw this roadmap of all the 3D cards coming out. And I just had a super painful experience with this game Trespasser that I shipped, which shipped just before 3D accelerators came out with this fancy renderer that drew the outside, which was really hard to do. And people put accelerator cards in, which were kind of broken at the time. And they were all optimized to play Doom and Quake. And they didn't work with our renderer because our renderer worked in a different way as drawn on the outside. And so it actually slowed our game down. And I took a lot of shit. I got death threats. And it was super painful. And and it was right at the dawn of internet fandom too. So it was like the first internet fan sites to come out. And I was the poster boy of throwing daggers. Or that you threw daggers at. Not the thrower. I was the throw.
You weren't the thrower. You were the throwee.
Of the dagger. Okay, so I was really, it was confusing and bitter time, and I just, I needed a job, and I was up at Microsoft, and I was put in this little office in the middle of nowhere, and I had this job I didn't understand to be in charge of graphics for Windows or something, which was terrible. I mean, graphics in Windows was terrible. It was all terrible. It was this gray office. I was like, what the hell is even going on? What am I going to do? And then Sony came out with this big announcement of a PlayStation 2, and then they said, oh, it's so powerful that it could run a spreadsheet. And I was like, wait a second. Okay, so as angry as I am about everything that's going on, don't tell me at Microsoft that you're going to run a spreadsheet better than us. And by the way, I'd only been at Microsoft for a few weeks at this time. So what am I even saying? Who am I?
Awesome. He took that. That's wild. You took it right in, man. That's it. You
personally. And I was like, fuck it. Fuck you. I know Bill Gates. Bill Gates got me this job. Like, you're not going to do spreadsheets. We're going to kick your ass in graphics. I know about NVIDIA and 3DFX and all these other companies that are coming out with 3D hardware and the direct 3D API, and it's better than what you're offering. It's better than Cell Engine. It's better than. And I was like, except what are we going to do? It's Windows, so every PC is different. It's a disaster, and I've been shipping Windows games for a long time, and so I knew that every PC was different and a disaster. So console games would always look better than PC games because you couldn't optimize them all the way for a single piece of hardware. So I was like, what are we going to do? And on a plane ride back from visiting my girlfriend in Boston, where I'd moved from to get the job at Microsoft, I had this idea. Maybe we just make a specification for a device. It's a game device, like for DirectX, right? And this became the DirectX box, and then became Xbox. But it really grew out of me being frustrated because, in retrospect, because I knew how powerful the architecture could be, and the fact that everybody developed on that architecture. I mean, even PlayStation games and Nintendo games at the time were developed on the PC and then ported over to their hardware, right? So why do that? Why not just make the console the hardware itself and make everybody happy and have all the tools work on it and all that? And so I intuitively knew that and wanted to make a platform that did that. And it happened that fit exactly with the Microsoft philosophy with respect to platforms, right? And it's software being the platform and software being the point and hardware serving the software, except in this case, we'd have to make the hardware. And I somehow found the words and found the right partners and people around to some extent. There are some duds and got it done. There you go. It's weird. It's like, asking that, do you remember like people asking you what your major was going to be in college or something like this? Like, why aren't you married yet? When people ask me, like, hey, why did you have the idea for Xbox? I get that same feeling as like your aunt asking you why you're not married yet. You're like, fuck you, bitch. I don't need to answer you. But okay.
Oh my God, that's fucking glorious. Listen, it's so interesting to me because I just like it's so important to me as a person that it's just like it just blows my mind that you just said, you know what? Fuck you, Sony. Yes. We're gonna do this. It's like this is like the exact like beauty. It's beautiful. This is like the best answer ever.
But that's how everything goes, right? And when people try to assign, some kind of glorious purpose to what is they're going to do, okay, that's fine. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you and a pencil, right? I mean, what are you going to do? Like, you have to have some fire in your belly. You got to be like, fuck you, equation. I'm going to kick your ass, or whatever. I'm going to write this story now. Finally, I'm going to write this story out of my head. And it's this moment of like surpassing something inside yourself, right? Yes. And if you can have the discipline to keep on surpassing this thing inside of yourself, then you can really get somewhere. And I'm sure
that fire inside of you. Yes.
You have this with this podcast all the time. I'm sure everybody faces it, and it's no different. Like, it doesn't matter if a project happens to become successful and happens to become, but if your project happens to become successful and well known, it somehow takes on like a magical thing, but it's not magical. It's just, it became successful. The origin is always the same, right? We're all just human beings. We're all the same. We really are. And there are so many people who are geniuses and who have incredible abilities that no one ever finds out about, people who are really special, that everyone should know, and nobody knows them. And it's for reasons of just fortune. And so when something works and becomes really popular, it doesn't mean it has a magical origin, right? That's a fallacy in human thinking, right? It's like you see all these books and websites and social media ads for guys who had a company and they sold it, and they're like, oh, here are the entrepreneurs, like, steps to success. Here's what I did. And it's like, it's bullshit. It's the same thing. You did the same things everyone else did. Yours worked. Yep. And you should look at the reasons why it worked. But, knowing those, you can't ensure another one is going to work.
Well, just like you having Bill Gates' email, right? Had he not known you, right, from taking a look at your demo and liking it, right? There's plenty of people who've game failed and didn't go fucking go work for Microsoft and create a fucking console. You know what I'm saying?
People can take the same exact path and not turn out the same way,
exactly.
right?
So it's just
Well, the
series
trick
of
I
is,
love
events.
I love your stance. I love your fire, the way that you went ahead and stood for your brand, right? We say
I love
this a
it.
lot
Rep it
over
hard.
here. Yes, you got to represent, you got to stand for something. And when we when we
that's
feel
what
a
listen,
certain way.
that's all it means to be alive. What are you gonna on your deathbed? Are you gonna be like, boy, I wish I had like done less? What
I know. I
what
know. Fuck that.
you
Fuck
know?
that.
Yeah,
So real
I
quick, do you know?
agree.
So are you aware of like what TTSing is?
I am aware of what TTSing
Talking
is.
that shit.
Yeah,
Listen, you need to change your name to the legend that TTS is. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Because that's everybody in the chat lighting you on. Oh, the fucking TTS. You need to take it.
Yes.
No, that's awesome. And by the way, I did not even notice this here, so I apologize. I got so wrapped up. The homie Emmanuel
Emmanuel,
A1 man, thank you,
thank
brother,
you,
for being here.
love.
Thank you for that $5 super chat. Says y'all are legendary for getting this interview.
Thank
there you
Salute
go.
to
See,
all
you're
of
the
y'all.
legends. Fuck yeah.
Yes, you are the legend, Emmanuel. What's Seamus' favorite AA and AAA game? Seamus?
I don't know the difference in a double A and a triple A game. I thought
Smaller game, bigger game.
Okay, all right, fine. My favorite AAA game. Fuck, and this gets to the whole idea of like, what is a AAA game? I guess that means an expensive game.
Expensive,
Um,
yes.
I'm gonna have to go super old school with this and say Skyrim.
Oh, Skyrim.
Good
That's
one.
a legend.
The thing
That's a
is,
legend.
the thing about Skyrim is, even to this day, it holds up. Like I put it into the Switch the other day, and the shit holds up. It holds
Yes.
up.
Phenomenal game.
Todd is a genius. Okay.
Dude, we're gonna be saying the same thing about Starfield like 50 years from now.
No, I think you're right. I think you're exactly right. And I was going to say Starfield, but we'll see. We'll see. Give it another 10
Time will
years.
tell.
Yeah.
Time will tell. Time will tell. And then smaller game, AA game, indie type game.
I mean, like Braid, but
Great. Let's get it remastered.
yeah, no, I know. And John Blow's fucking badass. You should have John Blow on.
If you know John
Love
Blow,
to.
let me know. We can make it happen.
Absolutely.
If you just contact him, John is the nicest guy in the universe. He's zero bullshit. So don't be full of shit in any way. But
Well,
just
that's what we like.
send him a social media message. Fucking guy is awesome. Ask him about the time that I got Sherry McKenna to stop giving him vitamins at Oddworld. Okay.
Gonna have to hit him up.
Double A game would be.
Tell him Seamus sent us. He said you got to come on the show to answer this question.
I'm going to say, one of my favorite games of all time is a demo that became a game called Mr. Driller. Do you know Mr. Driller?
Mr. Driller.
Guys, go check out Mr. Driller. That's on
I gotta go check it out. Mr. Driller. All right. Is it on Xbox or somewhere else?
It may be on Xbox. It's an old game. It's like an arcade game.
Yeah.
It's an old
Mr. Driller.
Game.
We'll take a look, man.
It's like inverse Tetris. It's fantastic with a character.
Oh, maybe I do know. I think I've seen it. Maybe I gotta look it up. But I think I do. And Gotham guy, man, thank you, brother, for being here, man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for that $20 super chat. It says, Seamus, I want to thank you and your Xbox team for all you've done for gaming. Xbox was the system that got me back into gaming in the 2000s. I still watch the Xbox documentary at least once a month. Truly inspiring. Wow.
Yeah, the first few episodes are not worth it, but yeah, everything else is good.
You see, like, this is the thing. I understand. It's hard, and like you said, people who just accept being known as legendary or super important, might be a little, off. But like, as much as you don't want to embrace it, you just do, man. You mean a lot to a lot of people because this.
By the way, that guy's handle is really good.
Gotham guy, right?
PGR man is that was a totally revolutionary thing. And, I got to send a shout out to my friend Alan, who was the biggest. I have a friend who was the biggest fan ever of Gran Turismo. And the Gran Turismo guys are so cool. In the late 90s, they had their building set up so they could drive their cars and park next to their desks. Right?
What?
They were totally pure. Like those guys love cars more than anybody. Okay, more than anybody. Okay. And my friend Alan, who's a Microsoft guy, who started out doing really boring shit at Microsoft, and then came to DreamWorks with me, where I shipped the Dumb Dinosaur game. His name's Alan Hartman. He then went back to Microsoft. Yeah. That guy fucking loves cars. He had an MGA with like a rotting plywood like bottom and shit that we would ride around in. Guy loves cars, and he translated that love into making his own Gran Turismo team. And he now Like he bested them. He proved it.
Yes.
Forza is
Yes.
fucking fantastic. And
It
like
is.
he's another guy that you should have on the show because he's he's an enormously cool guy. And again, totally pure. It's like Phil. It's coming from a place of total pure love of everything automotive, and you can feel it dripping off of that game, right? That's the kind of thing that makes the difference between this industry surviving and failing is like that kind of pure passion.
Listen, just remember you said these things because somebody's gonna be like, Alan's gonna be like, hey, Seamus, some dude's like, yo, Seamus said we should have you on the show. And just be ready for that and be like, yeah, you should.
He remembers riding around in your MGA with the rotting plywood bottom. Yeah.
There you go.
But you're absolutely right. The passion, and that's what differentiates, because there's so many games out there nowadays, and that is what makes the difference. The passion, the love that they put into it, it comes through. We see it, we feel it.
It used to be that to make a game was such a weird thing. Like, in the 90s, you'd say, I'm a game developer, and people would be like, what? Aren't those made in Japan? Don't those go get made in orbit? Don't computers make those? And they literally ask this. Now, game developer is like a legitimate career, and it's kind of commodified to an extent, right? And so it means that rising above that commercial, noise is even harder, right? In the 90s and the 80s, every game had to be a super passion project because it was like deciding to live off grid or something. It was like being a game developer was a fucking weird thing to do, and nobody's going to respect you. There's no school for it. There's no book you could look anything up. You had to totally go for it and devote your life to it. And it was like a lifestyle choice. And so the games from that time are amazing for that reason. It's kind of like early rock or like the beginnings of hip hop, right? I mean, you listen to like De La Soul, like the first record, and because to do that, those nobody made music that sounded like that. Those guys were totally out on a limb. They were taking a bet on something. Their whole family, everybody thought they were insane, and so they had to be totally committed. So every album was like that, right? It's the same thing with rock in the '60s. Every album you listen to from that era is pretty special because those guys had to be all in. And now in games, you don't have to be that way anymore, right? You can have a 9-to-5 games job now because the industry is mature. So more than ever, you're exactly right. Like the passion differentiates things because it's not a baseline requirement to devote your life to it. You have to decide electively to devote your life to it. And those products are the ones that can stick out.
The commitment and the work that goes into it it's a lot. And C Money knows because, he went to college to go ahead and make games. And he turned around and realized, turns out I love playing games.
I like playing them, not making them. You know what I'm saying? Because that was crazy. My whole life geared everything towards going to make it. Applied to one school that I knew could do it for me in Jersey. Got full scholarship to everything. As soon as I started doing the actual work that I would need to learn to do it, I was like, you know what? That was fun.
I'm play a game real quick.
Okay. It takes, you have to have passion, real passion.
It takes people all over the place. Man, I had the exact opposite of you. I was so into making the games, and then once everything is working on it, I lose interest and I want to do the next challenge. It's like I have the same problem. I really like to build flying models. I build these crazy model airplanes and stuff. Really? Design them and all this, and I'm not that into flying them. I fly them around, prove they work, but what I really want to do is build the next one. And there are other people who and there's no more legitimate than the people who could give a shit about building them. And they just want to go fly them. And they're awesome pilots compared to me. They do all this crazy shit that I don't know how to do. It's just not what I'm into. And unless you have both, you have nothing.
Facts.
Yes.
Damn.
I love
Bars.
That. I love it.
That was beautiful. All right. It's my turn, I think. Okay. So just another question about just the literal box, right? When you were putting this box together. Was there anything that you wanted in the box that you had to fight for? People were like, no, we're not going to do that. That's too much. Or no, that's crazy.
You got to remember, I was doing this in an environment where people didn't want there to be any box. So that's a weird question to answer. And then a bunch of people came on from Microsoft who decided suddenly they were game experts and console experts. There's one guy who became pretty senior and then was fired from Microsoft, who had never played a console game and told me he never played a console game, ordered like a Dreamcast on Cosmo.com, which was Webvan or something, which was like, an early delivery service that went out of business in the .com bust. Played like Dreamcast over the weekend, and then came into a meeting with like senior executives the next week and was like presenting like an expert on console games. And like had like, game t-shirts. Absolutely full of shit. Climber.
Is it somebody we know?
It is. So but the thing is that, that everything was on the table the whole time. It was such a fucking tense time. But I had a huge fight to keep the hard drive in, a huge fight to keep the LAN connection on the back. By the way, that fight was with people who have later on gone and, claimed their fame as like, hey, I brought, internet gaming. And like, dude, I remember you sending me nasty emails that we should never have an internet connection on this device. Fuck you. And then, but it's okay. They didn't
name names. Name names. No, just play.
No, I mean, but I'm not going to name names because I'm not sure anybody was acting in bad faith. Everyone was terrified. If you signed to Xbox, the people internally called it coffin box. It's the end of your career.
Wow.
And so people were scared, and people didn't want to screw up their Microsoft careers, and so it was a weird time. But people did try to get all this stuff taken out. There's one thing I wish would have been taken out. I wanted to have an external power supply, which would have made it much smaller. The original Xbox, but it's
funny because size, the size of the box.
Tell me about size, Mail. Tell me more.
I appreciate good size. You know what I'm saying? I want a nice size box.
Things.
I like big things. I got a big box. I got big hands. I want a big controller. It was perfect for me. It felt every time I looked at that small ass PlayStation 2, I was like, look at that little shit. That's
beautiful. It's really good. Especially the PS2, the junior release, the little one, I can't remember what it's called, PS2 Plus. Oh, that thing was so cool.
Nah, you could smash that. You drop the Xbox on. See, if you drop the PlayStation 2 on the Xbox, the Xbox would be like, "What the fuck was that?" Your PlayStation 2 would shatter when it hits the Xbox. If you drop the Xbox on top of the PlayStation 2, fucking pancake, dude. That's PlayStation 2's gone because the Xbox was so weak.
Don't even talk about the big aluminum prototype. That shit would just eat everything.
I wish I wanted that. When I saw that in the EGM magazine when it first came, and I saw that big fucking X that was silver with that green little orb in the middle, man, I would spend a lot of money to find that shit. I don't even know where it is. I gotta get it. Somebody has to have it.
Yeah,
so
he's even the box of the original Xbox, like he's like the box is everything.
Yeah, the box itself.
Yeah, it's the nostalgia for what you had when you were a kid, right? So that's the thing. I mean, I feel the same way about the box for the Atari VCS, man. So it's all good. It's all good. I think the whole like console UFC drop them on each other fight is something I hadn't thought of before. But yeah, we would have won that for sure.
Nice.
So could you share a pivotal moment during the Xbox development that almost changed the course of the console's future?
Ooh.
Like in a good way or a bad way?
Either way, good or bad. It's something. Did somebody screw up your situation and we could have been in a better place, or did you dodge a bullet that would have ruined us?
Oh man, there were so many bullets dodged.
Like Neo in the Matrix, right? Just
there was yeah. Bill was really supportive the whole way through, and there was there were other teams of Microsoft. Microsoft had bought this company called Web TV, which had been the remnants of the 3DO company. Do you guys remember the 3DO console from Trip Hawkins? Yeah.
Yes.
And they had failed with 3DO and were making a new console, and then another guy got all the engineers and they made the Web TV television web portal thing, and then Microsoft bought that for some reason. It was terrible. It was like the thing that countless salesmen used to watch internet porn on hotel TVs, and those guys were inside Microsoft, and they heard that we were getting traction with some game console idea, and they showed up like, well, we're the experts on game consoles, and And I was like, experts, aren't you? If you were an expert, wouldn't 3DO have worked? But anyway, okay.
Oh shit!
Oh,
TTS, bro.
So
That's
that's what it
beautiful.
was at the time, and I was kind of insufferable. You wouldn't have liked me at the time, but
I
we had
think
to
you got
battle
along
yeah,
pretty
I
good.
think we gel well together.
and well, but we had to fight these guys, and they were dicks. They were political. They had all these skills I didn't know you needed to have inside a big company, and so I had to have a real fast education in how to sidestep around some of this bullshit. And I was pretty good about it, but there was one meeting with Bill Gates and maybe Ballmer, I can't remember, where I took it too far.
Mm.
And Bill looked at me and he goes, "You're not going to get away on reputation with that one, Seamus. You're going to have to do the work." And
Oh,
and I felt like I had been pistol whipped, dude. I felt like some guy had taken 45. I was like, oh, knocked out. That's it for Seamus. But I went and did the work and it worked out okay.
Yes.
that's hilarious. That's real quick before we go to the next one. We got the homie Epic Treasure. What's good, fam? Thank you for that too.
Hi.
Super
Thank
chat
you
says
so much.
really great interview questions as always. Thank you, homie. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Fark you, the man. Thank you both for being here. Thank you for the
What's up,
£5 super
baby?
chat. Says
you.
Seamus, our good friend C Money loves mustard.
Oh,
What I don't love mustard. What's your thoughts on this fine condiment? And shout out to you and the OG Xbox team for everyone you've done. Everything you've done. Not everyone you've done.
Everyone
He's
you've
not
done?
Diddy.
Hashtag
So,
no
like,
Diddy.
I have no content on that. £5, huh? Okay, mustard. Mustard's fine. Upgrade to wasabi. And
You see?
thank you very
Low
much.
level mustard. Mustard is trash. That's what he's basically saying in a polite way. It's okay. I could translate it for you. No problem.
See, money hates mustard.
Listen,
disgusting.
and have you ever had a good like English Norfolk mustard?
I have no idea what that is.
Okay, NORFOLK. Check it out. It may change your
Okay.
mind. May change your mind.
All right.
Oh,
Okay,
Listen.
you have to get the real grainy.
Father
good
Xbox
stuff.
says to try it. I might try it. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Like,
it must be
it's
done.
Spicy. It's got a good, deep, rich flavor. Most American mustard, I can't take it. But you know, what's not to like about spicy vinegar? Nothing.
Look at
So,
that.
good shot.
Thank you. All right. That's all I needed to hear. It's beautiful. Okay, now let me ask you this, because obviously we know it has, but just your kind of perspective on it. How do you think the gaming industry has evolved since you guys launched the original Xbox?
What the hell kind of open-ended, weird, abstract question is that? That's simple.
Listen, you're the type of person that's going to take it where it needs to go. You know what I'm saying? That's all. I give you the little sliver of road, and you're going to go ahead and take that. You know what I'm saying?
Come on. All right. Well, no, I mean, it's the fact that all distribution's online now has changed everything in the relationship between content creators and the audience. And it's made the business difficult for people who made money being a middleman before. And that's changed everything. Also, culturally, games have become mainstream, and that's utterly changed the face of what it means to be a developer and a gamer itself. You know, when we were working on the Xbox, gamers were considered to be criminals, like 14-year-old skateboard criminals, boys. And we had to have these serious meetings where we bring data showing that gamers were like, you know, average in their 40s and were almost 50% female. And people wouldn't believe this. And now I think it's pretty commonplace knowledge that games, you know, are the same, a larger scale entertainment business than movies or TV. And that's mainstream acceptance is something everybody wanted, but it's also changed things. Just go straight back to what you were saying before, you know, what Doodle was saying, that you know, now you really have to stand out. You really have to stand out with your passion. You have to be really pure about it. And so that we now have in common with movies and TV shows, right? Standing out as a TV show is really hard to do because there's a lot of good TV shows. You really need to do something special.
How do you feel about the TV adaptations of some of the video games that
I mean, there are good ones and bad ones, right? Last of Us is
Yes.
great, but the weird thing about Last of Us was it was aside from the one episode, with the guy with Nick Offerman, which was fantastic. It was
Frank and the other one. Frank and the other character.
So that was such a great episode, man. Like who wasn't bawling at the end of that?
Yeah.
But you know, it followed the game perfectly. So like as somebody who played the game, like I knew everything was going to happen, but it was still super entertaining and really good, and it was respectful. And I think
Yes.
when they're respectful and they capture the actual feel of the game, it really works well. And when they're not, when they're exploitative, it's garbage, of course, because it has no artistic merit, and it makes the audience feel used. And
Yes.
fuck you.
Fuck you indeed. Glorious.
No, seriously, like some of the adaptations of these franchises where it's like a movie that barely has anything to do with the game. It's offensive. It's just like,
Yeah.
why didn't you spend that money like feeding homeless people? You fucking idiots! Like, what are you even doing, wasting your time on this?
Absolutely.
I feel you,
get
man.
that.
I
get
feel you.
that. So, with such a vast array of games available on Xbox, do you have a personal favorite or one that holds a special significance to you?
Well, it's
Like,
Halo,
especially like
obviously. I mean, Halo.
Halo.
That's it. I mean, Xbox succeeded because of Halo. It saved our bacon, and it was not exactly it was not something that Bungie wanted to have made into a console game. They wanted to make it for the Macintosh. I don't know if you know the story of this or not, but so I was not exactly their favorite guy.
So you pushed them to do it?
Ed Freeze pushed them to do it, I think reluctantly. Ed went back and forth between like supporting Xbox and not. And necessarily, like, again, he was a Microsoft lifer, had a whole career there. Was this going to ruin his career or not? So all these guys, they were political survivors inside a big company, right? So it's like they go with where the wind looks like it's going. And so on a bad Xbox week, everybody's down on Xbox and pulling the games off, and on a good Xbox week, everybody invented it. So it's like, this is how it goes.
Oh my goodness!
So it's all right. And
Oh.
a bunch of guys, they had been acquired by Microsoft, moved to Seattle from Chicago, where they're all from. Some of them stayed back. They'd been promised they were going to get to ship this new game that became Halo on Macintosh, published at Microsoft. They had a special office with special carpet and different rules from everybody else in order to entice them to come. And then suddenly they were told, "Oh, we're really sorry, but you're going to have to like put your beautiful baby on this new game console from Microsoft that nobody believes is going to work." And they were like, "Thanks." So it worked, but it worked out. And I mean, it had several problems. One of them was that at the time, nobody thought a shooter could ever work on a console, which seems crazy now. But at the time, if you remember, that was the predominant opinion. It was like, no, you have to have a mouse. There's nobody, the guy with a mouse could always be the guy on a console. You can't use a controller for this fucking months of this bullshit I went through. Of course, it's totally untrue. And it was a beautiful game, beautiful shooter on a console.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
Totally saved our bacon and actually made their reputation for them as well and made them all very wealthy. So what good luck that was.
Look at that. It's a beautiful thing. All right.
But again,
let me ask
and this is the thing you got to remember. At the time, seemed like it was going to be a disaster.
Yes.
And that's what you got to remember. So when you hear people talking about like, well, I led this team to this and then I led this team to this, fuck you. No, like if you're honest, everything we do in life seems like it's going to be a total fucking disaster all the time. And then sometimes it works out and you need to be thankful. And you need to really look back and, be honest with yourself about why, but you're not going to get anywhere.
So go ahead, Steve.
Oh, go ahead, baby.
We talk here about, the Xbox tax and bias and how the way I explain this is if Phil steps on someone's shoe, it's like the end of the world. They can't do anything wrong. And Sarah will come out here and say things clearly, but it's always taken out of context or, made into something that is not. Is this something that you felt back then? Was the Xbox tax something that's always been there?
No, it's a result of a success, right? Like it's just human nature. It's like, okay, well, this is big company and it's successful and we care a lot about it. So therefore we're going to hold these people to a completely impossible standard. And if you're Sarah and you've committed the extreme sin of being female and not white, like you have like, then you better be fucking better than perfect. You better be everything in the world and then some.
And cure cancer.
It's like, come on, like Jesus fucking Christ. They're running a games business. They're running a fucking video games business, okay? And it's super hard, and they're human beings.
Absolutely.
And it's true of everyone. I think that the Nintendo guys, they're inscrutable, and they've sort of sequestered away in Kyoto, and they have this U.S. group that that they can take all the heat, and so they've engineered a situation in which they can be unscrutable Japanese guys, and release dates are never shown, and all of this, and so they make all the exact same fuck ups as Microsoft, but in a less public way, and they take less heat as a result. And but but it's the same thing. You have a very passionate fan base, and the fan base is extremely well educated about how development works. They know all the terms, they know the teams, they know the people, they know the budgets, they know release dates. They're second guessing every decision that you make, not because necessarily they're dicks, although a lot of them are dicks, and I feel like being a dick myself, but because they care so much, right? And so they're very critical and very vocal. And it's happened to me a lot of times, in social media, that somebody will just be a raging asshole to me about something, and I'll be like, "Oh, dude, that really hurts my feelings," and they'll be, "I'm really sorry. I'm just really passionate." And you find out that these guys who are like total assholes, like online, are just like, no, I'm really sorry. I get it. It's just like I care so much.
It's funny.
So I think a lot of the heat that these guys take is because people care so much, right?
Yes.
It doesn't excuse the fucking misogyny that Sarah faces, which pisses me off, and the misunderstanding of the business that Phil has faced for a really long time. But like, people are dicks because they care so much, and in a weird way, that's like an amazing backhand compliment. That's like, oh man, that's great. Like, it's an amazing sign of success to have people care so much that they're willing to be like outrageous pricks. But wow, they really care that much. That's cool.
Yeah, because if they didn't care, they would just ignore it, right? Like, if they wouldn't sit there and waste all their energy and time thinking about what Xbox is doing and what Microsoft is doing. That's the message to your ponies, right? We know your true feelings, because if you didn't care, you wouldn't be sweating it so much, right?
Ponies love Xbox. I get that.
So, question, right? Because we talked about this, and again, kind of like where you see yourself in this whole thing, and the non-legend situation. But if you take a look at literally everything that is happening right now, Sarah being where she is, Phil running the show, all this stuff that's happening is all because you decided that you said, "Fuck you, Sony. You're not going to do spreadsheets on the console. We're going to come out and do this." How does it feel?
Janitor now.
Yeah. Now that back then, obviously, you having come from a massive failure, I'm sure you didn't think that this was going to be the biggest success that you would have in this situation. So looking back, right, and seeing what Xbox is now the very same place that treated you like you shouldn't even have been there trying to make an Xbox, now has surpassed Windows at Microsoft. I mean, how do you, again, taking out the whole legend situation, just how do you feel when you look back and you're alone? You're thinking to myself, man, wow, look at what's here. And it's all because I sat there and fought and scraped my way to get this thing done.
Yeah, it's weird. Weird shit hits you. When Microsoft decided, it was years ago, and they've since taken it back, but when they decided to make Cortana the voice of Windows.
Yep, remember that.
I took a step back and was like, har, 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 motherfucker. That was like, how do you like it now, bitch? That was pretty good. Who you need? Oh, you need us now? You need us? Okay. Noted. So.
Oh, that's glorious. I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's pretty dope, man. It's pretty dope. There's a lot that's happening right now. And listen, obviously every console is out there doing their thing, but here at Xbox, we know that everything we have going started with you. So we're pretty happy about that. Go ahead, baby girl.
Crying on an airplane.
Crying on wait. Crying on an airplane. Hold on. Green. I wanted to ask about that, right?
Well, you know this story.
I do, but it has to be part of our official interview. How did green become the color so associated with Xbox, Seamus Blackley?
You fucking young kids. So do you remember back when they first introduced the felt tip markers with the brush tip where it was soft at the end and you can make all the different cool lines? You remember that? You were probably little kids, maybe before you were born. I don't know. Fuck, I don't know.
We're old, man.
We're older than we may seem.
Okay, well, all right. So the guy who we had convinced to help us to do concept art for our pitches and presentations, this guy called Horace Luke, who now runs a big company in Hong Kong, very cool guy.
Oh, nice.
He had just bought himself a full set, the whole spectrum, of those pens. And there was the premium. You had to like pre-order them. It was like a big deal, and they were fun to play with, right? And he was in the industrial design department at Microsoft, and they were in this big like room or space with a bunch of different designers. And so, of course, what did they do? They like pilfered all the different pens, and we're all playing with them, right? And so we had this presentation to do, and we were down there working with him, and the only colors left were blue and these 3 colors of green. And PlayStation was fucking blue.
Yes. I love that answer. Fuck PlayStation Blue. Throw it in the trash. Go get an Xbox.
Get rid of this one.
So, okay, it's going to be. And we thought, we'll change it later. But, the fact is, you're never going to change it later. The first decision you make in a lot of cases is the decision you've made.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you just use the green marker and that's it. It became the color, which is funny because like RGB is such a standard for color, right? And every console is one of the colors, right? And it's red.
Dreamcast was orange. That was cool.
Well, yes, but they didn't survive, right? Because they weren't RGB.
They didn't make it.
There's only 3 colors that were gonna make it, guys. You can only be one of them, and these are the last 3 standing. That's
for
dope.
now.
All right, go ahead, here we go.
So, given the rise of indie games, what are your thoughts on how platforms like Xbox can support independent developers?
Well, it's weird to say the rise of indie games because when I started out in the game business, it was all indie games. So that seems normal to me, and it's not a new thing. So, it's sort of cyclical. The industry always goes back and forth between all developers sort of being beholden to the studio system and then all developers being independent. And it kind of sloshes back and forth, right? Like gasoline in a school bus as it stops and starts, right? So, whenever the balance is toward a bunch of independent developers going, you see a lot of innovation and cool stuff. And then the guys who make cool stuff that sells well, that's a new idea, get absorbed and purchased by the big studios. And they make those games big as AAA titles with a lot of budget. And then that burns out because sales go down. And then they all decide they're going to leave to do something new because they're not allowed to do anything new when they're inside the big company. And then everybody's independent again. And so I think that it's just like, think about that
cycle.
Yeah, it's sloshing back and forth in the tank.
Okay, so we're gonna be getting towards the end soon before we switch to our fun questions and then our show.
Day job here, kids.
Yeah, I know. It's happening. Hold on. Okay, so I guess last 2 questions. Okay. So we'll start with one before we switch to our other thing, and those are quick. So obviously you were there and you ushered in the start of Xbox. Where do you feel, just personally, where would you like to see gaming go? Like, you've seen where it's been and how it's going. Like, if you were kind of back in that spot where you can, make moves, and like if you're back at the beginning of Xbox, but now, right? Like, where would you want to see gaming go, or how would you want it?
You can see some of the stuff going on behind me, right? You can see that it's a really big building we're in here.
I do see a really big building.
Okay, so just stay tuned.
Oh, snap. Oh, snap. I like that.
Yes. All right.
Okay, so that just goes straight to the last question, baby.
So outside of gaming, what are some of the other passions or projects that you're currently excited about?
Well, aside from my day job, we have a big project rebuilding an ancient Egyptian Old Kingdom bakery on the Giza Plateau, where the bakeries were that fed the pyramid workers. So me and a team of people have found the ancient microbes that were used and revived them that made the world's first mass-produced bread back then in the Egyptian Empire, and we're rebuilding that with help from the Egyptian government and some other organizations. And then I have a project to grow cacao, to grow chocolate here in Los Angeles, in the barrio, in the South Central, to sort of bring chocolate back to America. So we've had a lot of success growing cacao hydroponically indoors in Los Angeles and making chocolate out of it. So I'm partnering with a chef called Jose Andres, who you may know, who runs World Central Kitchen, to do that. So those are the big projects at the moment.
Oh, I
That's
love
awesome.
that.
That's
I love
awesome.
that.
Okay. Well, you did it.
Yes.
Those are the main questions. Now we have our fun questions in our show, and that's all relatively
All right. All right. Let's do it.
But this is
Get
great,
it.
man. Thank you so much. These were awesome.
Thank
and I love, I got to tell you, you didn't know how to do it when this started, just to be clear. You didn't know you could change your name on StreamYard, and you changed your name more than anybody in the history of being on the show. I love it. You're a janitor now. Dope.
Why wouldn't you?
Oh, that's amazing. All right, let me go here. Let me get my wait, did I go somewhere else? What the hell was that? No, here we go. Boom.
Here we go.
All right. Okay, fun questions. Ready? If you could travel back in time and meet one historical figure, who would it be and why?
If I could travel back in time and meet one historical figure, it would be Imhotep, who was probably the first real sort of Isaac Newton type genius in human history that we know of. He wrote the first non-magical medical text. And by non-magical, I mean, it like talked about how to set bones, how to prevent infection, even though he didn't know what infection was, how to clean wounds, in war. And this was, in the ancient Egyptian Old Kingdom, so about 5,000 years ago. He also, along with his pharaoh Senefru, was the guy who designed the first pyramids and went through the series of experiments in stone building and architecture, which was a brand new cutting edge thing at the time, to make large stone structures. And, I'd really like to know that cat.
That's awesome.
That.
That's awesome. Go ahead, baby.
You should look him up. Imhotep.
Write it in the private chat so I can try to. I can't spell that.
Imhotep. Imhotep.
Oh, Imhopt.
Ho. Oh, okay. I'll put it in the fucking chat.
All right, thank you. See everybody the heartbreak trying to make me spell out here live in these streets.
Right, if you had to choose one superpower, what would it be and how would you use it?
If I had to choose one superpower, man, they all have downsides. This is the problem with being old, is that you like understand the consequences of shit. When you're young and you don't understand any consequences, everything's fucking easy to answer. All right, I think time travel, ironically, would be the one, because the great tragedy of human existence is that we live for such a short period of time, and right about when, as a human being, you actually finally gather some wisdom and actually have some understanding of what it means to be a sentient organism, you die. And that knowledge is lost, and the next generation of people have to figure it all out again and waste all that time. It's tragic. So, if we could find a way to circumvent that, it would be phenomenal.
Yes.
But then that would be. So, but on top of that, would you really want to just go back in time, walk into Microsoft when they were telling you how stupid of an idea this was, and just slap them up with all the facts now? Like, oh yeah, Bill, it's not a good idea. Take that. Look at it. Look at you. You're welcome.
I think the thing about Bill was he was really supportive of it because he'd been through that. You think of Bill, I don't know if you ever looked at the old pictures of him. I mean, he's really on the spectrum. I just saw him again. He's an investor in our new operation here that you see behind me. And I went to go see him last week on Tuesday, believe it or not. And, he's a really good guy. And people say all this shit about him. It's hilarious. Like, anybody who knows Bill finds it all hilarious. Like, he's not, if he's just interested in the cool technology. And he and Paul Allen and all those guys went through so much shit to start Microsoft, And yeah, they fucked up. They did dumb stuff. They definitely like used monopolistic practices. But what the hell? They didn't know. They were like, what? It's like, okay, we have a business in operating systems. Nobody's ever had in history a business in personal computer op. What do we do? I don't know. Nobody's ever done it before. Oh, we're doing it wrong. What the fuck do you mean? Nobody's done it. We don't what? Right?
Yep.
So you go through this shit. You're almost out of business a bunch of times. People try to crush you. People get mad at you because of your success. So he understood the deal, and he was supportive because I think he saw himself early on in this team, and I think he sees that in a lot of the different technologies that he supports. These guys trying to capture carbon, all these kinds of things. So I don't have a beef with Bill, and I wouldn't want to go back and dunk on him because people dunked on him already, the same way people are dunking on Sarah and Phil. I would want to go back and see all the people who had been in that situation before. The reason I love the ancient Egyptians is because they were the first people to go through a lot of this shit. They had like the world's first bureaucracy. They had the world's first insurance claims. They had the world's first stone construction, the world's first, how do we do this? How do we do that? How do we do this? And they figured it out. And you can read, because of the environment there that preserves things pretty well, you can read what was on their minds directly. That's why I have, hieroglyphs on my arm and these beautiful things that you wrote. This one says, may I fly, may my soul come to me from infinity. Okay. These are the thoughts of these people. There's a prayer to Isis that says, Isis, mother of heaven, awaken within my heart and save me from my own ego. Right.
Damn.
Okay. 5,000 years old. So, they
That's
were
profound.
thinking about these things. I mean, just that awaken within my heart.
That's beautiful.
And so, I would want to
That's
meet
poetry, bro.
Yes.
I would want to meet the people who thought those thoughts for the first time, because it's a real thing. The first time,
Yeah.
it's a thing.
I love that. Yes, affirmations too. It's good to it sets a tone, right, to how you feel or how your perspective is for the day. Like if you see them earlier, sometimes, like you said, you have it tattooed and it means something. Sometimes you need to take a little glance to reset your mindset. But I do love your answer about, aging, right? And when we're young, we even think of like, oh, we're gonna live forever. You don't see an end, right, to life. And then as you get older and you appreciate everything around you so much more, and you smarten up, as you mentioned, there's a different appreciation for every day of your life, right? And that perspective changes. So if we can have that appreciation and that mentality that we have, um as an older person, and could get back to like that younger being, that will be an awesome
Yeah,
combination.
and it's also that trying to convince a younger person of that shit is the most irritating thing you can do to a younger
Yes.
person, because they don't want to hear it, and I didn't want to hear it when I was young either. And so you walk around with a little bit of wisdom, and you can see the pain in the faces of those around you. You can see their suffering. You can understand. You can feel for them in a way you can't when you're young. And
Yes.
I don't know how to communicate that back to people.
Yeah.
Now, I have a quick question based off of this. Before, right? You mentioned, fake it till you make it. And you speaking of confidence, right? You hit a certain point in life where you're just confident and you are confident in your own skin, right? Do you still have those therapists? Do
No,
you
please go
still
on.
have those moments of faking it till you make it, or you have gotten to the point where you kind of feel like, this is it. This is just what I'm doing. I'm embodying this moment.
I think that I have become more comfortable feeling insecure about it, but I have not stopped feeling insecure about it.
I get that.
And I have for this company that I have now, I have this board of directors that's who are like my bosses, right? And they were investors, and they get on the board, and it works in the normal kind of way. And they're serious people, and I'm terrified of them, which is why I chose them as board members, because I listened to them, right? So they stopped me from doing dumb shit. And so one is a very famous guy. He's like, this is a guy who is he founded Silicon Graphics and invented like geometry processing, and he wrote the operating system for the Cray computer. Okay, Forrest Basket. He's a fucking legend, right? Wow. And after our last board meeting, he took my shoulders and he looked in my eyes and he said, and this is a man who's like super technical. People are really scared of him because he just tolerates zero bullshit. But he looked in my eyes and he said, "Stop worrying so much." And I was like, "Okay, thanks." And I sort of turned around back to the building. I just started crying like a child because he saw in me, he understood that like there's a certain amount of beating yourself up and holding yourself to account and doubting what you're doing and your decisions that's healthy and good, right?
Yes.
It's like, pain is the awareness of life, right?
Mhm.
You know you're alive because you're hurting. It's the truth. And then then you can cross that threshold, and the worry then becomes a burden that's holding you down instead of empowering you to be smarter, right? And he saw that I was over that line, and he corrected me.
That's awesome.
I love that.
I love that. That's dope.
He reset you. And it meant so much to you. That's why you started crying, to be seen, to be
Right,
kind of seen through
right.
your eyes.
And also just,
To your
like
soul.
feeling that you are understood and that the burden that you carry is understood.
Yes. Because there
That's
are
right.
you hit a certain point where you have to understand that there's certain things you can't control, and stressing and holding that inside, it makes things just that much harder to
It's true.
accomplish.
But the flip side of it that's really important to bear in mind is that there are things you absolutely do control, and you need to not
Yes.
let yourself off the hook on those. You need to go fucking fix those right away. So there you go. I have to get back to my day job, so you guys can leave
Wait.
now. What?
No, almost.
Okay, what? More?
Wait, we got a few more. Okay, since you guys going into this whole big dissertation.
Sorry, Simani. I know.
All right, we got the rapid fire game is 1 minute long. Okay, and then we just have a few more. Just answer them quickly without long answers. Okay.
1 foot out the door.
Right.
Get a
If
seat.
you had to sing a duet with any singer, who would you choose and what song would you sing?
I would choose Louis Armstrong, and I would sing. Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans?
Oh.
Nice. All right.
If you could swap places with any celebrity for a day, who would it be and why?
Jeff Bezos, and to fly on his rocket.
Oh, nice. That's dope. That's dope. All right. If you won the lottery, what is the first thing you would buy or do with the money that's selfish? Okay. Meaning you've done all the good things in your life with this money. Whatever you want to do, you did it. What is selfish just for you? First thing you would spend the money on?
I would buy an apartment in London that my sons could live in and not worry about housing. And then I would not worry about them.
Oh,
Yes.
that's fucking dope.
I love that. If
That's
you
really
could
dope.
travel to any video game world, where will you go and what will you do there?
I would go and live in Skyrim, and I'm not sure where. Maybe I'm not sure where, but in one of the big cities in Skyrim.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Final question before the show, the rapid fire round.
But
If
I
you
would
had
not.
to eat
Yeah,
only...
but I would not be a vampire because it fucking pissed me off with bullshit.
Oh, you don't want to be a vampire. All right. Listen, I get it. If you had to eat only one food for the rest of your life, final question, what would it be and why?
I mean, it would be cereal because
Cereal.
Because
Do you have a favorite cereal?
I'm gonna admit it.
Say it.
I'm gonna admit it.
Say it.
It's grape nuts. It's grape nuts.
Grape nuts? What?
What?
My God, I remember one
Okay,
time my
but
mom
here's the
brought this.
thing.
Hold on, what is this,
Here's-
Mom?
Here's the thing that you've learned with that answer: that everything I've said must be the truth.
Facts.
So I'm gonna admit to that.
Facts. I get it.
All right.
I believe it. All right, now, real quick, it's a 1 minute show. We got to turn it on. All right, we got to do it. You're here.
Okay.
Everybody has to take a swing. So first thing we do is we need the music. Okay, this is happening. We're switched to
turn
the
up.
game show. We're going here. Boom. We're in the game. Okay. Very simple situation. Okay. We have 1 minute. I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. You got to answer them. How many you can answer correctly or not correctly? There's no right answer. It's just how many you can answer in 1 minute is what this is about. So if you see on the sides, you have some names of some developers and publishers that have been here, and those are the scores that they've had. So there's only going to be 6 people who could be on this board in totality. So once we get to 6,
Okay.
you know, you either make the board or you're off the board, right? So very simple. There's 2 versions of this. Everybody here has done heavyweight. There's heavyweight, lightweight. The difference is simple. On the lightweight questions, it's going to be a matter of yes or no questions, either or questions like this or that, and questions that you just have to answer on your own, you know, with your own answers. Heavyweight is strictly all questions that are only your own answers. So there's no easy yes or no's or either ors. Which version do you want to go for? Heavyweight or lightweight?
Fucking heavyweight.
Fucking heavyweight. I
No.
fucking knew it.
Yes.
I fucking knew it.
All right.
Heavyweight. All right. So there's going to be a little clicker, a little ticker that comes at the bottom. It's going to have 60 seconds. It's going to tick, 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 tick. Time's going to go down. All right. Then when it's done, it's done. Now, this is the thing. The last moment, when that buzzer goes off, if I'm like halfway through the question, it still counts. Okay.
So you get to answer it.
So you still get to answer it, and it still counts. All right.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this.
All right.
You got this.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Favorite gaming genre?
RPG.
Favorite show as a child?
Lost in Space.
Favorite number?
7.
Favorite subject in school?
Physics.
Favorite gaming console of all time?
Xbox.
Favorite song?
Art Museum of New Orleans.
Childhood celebrity crush?
Dane Whelan.
Favorite color?
Red.
If you could be an animal, which animal would you be?
Cheetah.
Favorite book?
Soldier Story.
Favorite game of all time?
Mr. Driller.
Favorite superhero?
Superman.
First job you ever had?
Framing Pictures.
Favorite movie genre?
Romance.
Favorite fast food restaurant?
McDonald's.
Favorite sports team?
Dolphins.
Favorite music artist? Oh, I still asked it. Favorite music artist?
XTC.
XTC. All right.
You did amazing.
All right. Let's get the answer. Doodle.
Yes.
What was the score?
You answered 17 questions.
No, 18.
You got 18?
Yeah, the
That's
last one
17.
counted.
All right. 18 questions.
18. You made the top 3. Look
The
at that.
top 3, baby.
All right. I took down Sarah Alexis.
You
Yes.
took down
And
Sarah
Ben.
and Alexis. Yes.
Ben
And
Cavallo.
down. Ben is shaky ground. He was the first guy on here. He has the worst score. I don't know about this. It's not a good situation. Look at that. Well,
Third place. That's really good.
that was really good. That was really well
Yes.
done. You did it. You did it. Oh man.
Some of these are hard. It takes a second to answer truthfully.
Yes.
Agreed. Let's move that confetti, baby, because we all right. So listen, man, Seamus, appreciate you, man.
Thank you
This
so
was
much.
so dope. This was really good. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody, thank you so much for rocking with us. We appreciate you all for rocking with us. We appreciate everybody who supports us on Patreon, YouTube. Thank you guys. Seamus, thank you, man.
This
Thank you
was
for agreeing to come here,
awesome.
man. This was dope.
It
Awesome.
was.
You know,
Thank you.
Everybody's listening. Just remember that take care of yourselves. Don't feel bad about the people around you. They're pretending just like you. Don't let it bother you. All right. Stay strong.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you, man.
That means a
Appreciate
lot.
you.
Thank you.
Well, listen, with that, we're going to end this show the way we end every single show because we're actually going to come back in about 15 minutes because we have the PlayStation show that we're going to live react to. So, Doodle,
Yes,
we're done.
we are.
Until next time, Seamus, don't leave. We'll say bye at in the green
Okay.
room.
Okay.
You're
Until next
intruding.
time,
You're intruding.
you're intruding.